Hello and welcome to another Blender know-how tutorial, and in this Blender 2.8 video we are going to learn some of the basics of Blender. Some of my previous videos you've seen some navigation and a little bit about new things that have come in 2.8. We're going to explore some of them by creating just a simple humanoid character that you can mess around and do whatever you please with. It's nothing super fantastic, but it's simple enough that uh, it's possible for everyone to do. So let's go ahead and get started. Go ahead and get into Blender, and if you have questions about what button I'm going to put or what buttons I'm pushing, you can see down here in the bottom left corner that there is you can see if I'm clicking my right mouse, my left mouse, or my middle button. If I'm scrolling, it'll tell you what I'm clicking if I don't happen to say it while in the screencast. So first off, to get started, let's go ahead and click on the cube using the left click. And we're going to go to the front view so that we can see what's going to go on from the front. So hit 1 on the numpad and zoom in a little bit. Hit tab to go into edit mode and hit Control R. This is probably new to you. This is what we call a loop cut. Loop cuts are used all the time and they're very useful. So Control R is a common shortcut key that you're going to want to memorize. And then position your mouse on the top or bottom edges and you'll see that it will make a yellow line appear right here. If you position on this side, it will make it appear this way. And then just click. And now you can drag that line around and just right click to position it in the center. And if I navigate around, you don't have to, but if you navigate around, you can see that that line goes all the way around. It's a loop cut because it loops around your object. So now let's just click off to deselect those vertices and click to select these ones. If I go around, you can see that it didn't select these. Why wouldn't it select these? Well, it's because they are hidden behind this. So there's two options that we have. We can either click on here and we're in wireframe so that we can see through it, and if we do that it'll select both of them, or we can hit Z and Z will let us go into wireframe as well. Or, sorry, there's three options. You can click on this show whole scene as transparent, which will keep you in this solid shader so that you can kind of see your object, but you can also kind of see through it. So now I'm going to go back to the 1 to go to the front view. And this is orthographic, so it's mainly just a 2D view. If I hit 5, it's perspective, but I want to stay in orthographic for what we're doing. Now that we have all 4 of those vertices selected, you can hit X or delete on your keyboard and hit vertices. This will delete those vertices, and you can see that there's like a little hole in our cube now, and half of it's gone. We want to put it back, and I'm going to show a modifier called the mirror modifier by clicking on the modifier tab, click add modifier and mirror. This will add it back, but now the difference is whatever we modify on this side, it will be modified on the other side as well. So now let's go back to the front view if you're not there, and then we're going to make another loop cut right here on this side. So now let's deselect everything and click on just these two, or not just those 2 vertices, but there's 4 because remember we're in 3D. There's 2 hidden behind it, but because we have this clicked, we're okay. Hit E. This is the new one that you'll probably use often as well. This is if you hit E on the keyboard, it stands for Extrud. And Extrud is nice because you're not moving the vertices, but you're creating new ones based off the vertices you had selected. For instance, if I go back and I just grab them, you can kind of see the difference between the grab and the extrude. I'm just going to pull them out to kind of create the arms of the humanoid object and navigate down here and do the same with the legs. Now you can see when you pull out the legs that it snaps to what looks like the Z-axis. And we don't really want legs to be straight down. So to fix this, you can just middle mouse click and it will get rid of the snapping on that. If you want to bring it back, just middle mouse click and drag down and it'll put it that way. And you can see the white line that is right there kind of pointing towards my cursor. And as long as it's facing the direction of the blue line, it will snap to the blue line again. But we don't want that. So let's just pull out our legs of our human out here like this. And we now have legs. Now, this next step might seem a little bit weird, the way we're going to go about doing this, but it will make sense as we go on. We're going to create the head of our human. So we hit Shift A, Add, so that stands for Add, Mesh, and we're going to go to the cube. Now, you're thinking, why, like, cubes for heads? This isn't Minecraft. We want a little bit round to match the thing that we're creating. And you're right, we don't want it as a cube, but this is a great way to get spherical objects. So I'm going to hit G to move it up and position it right about where a head would be. And I'm just going to look around in 3D, make sure it looks where I want it to be. And this is where the magic comes in. I'm going to come to Add Modifier and hit Subdivision Surface. And now this will smooth everything in our everything that we're editing, which can be good, like the head, but it can also be bad, like these legs and the arms look really horrible. So let's fix those, because the head looks fine now. It's now almost a perfect sphere. So another reason we use loop cuts, like the one that we used here and the one that we used here at the beginning, another reason we would use a loop cut is to make more solid edges. So if you hit Control R and click on the edge there, you can bring, instead of right clicking and centering it, you can bring that to the edge to make it more crisp. Same thing with it down here, bring that down to the bottom. And you could also do that to the top if you wanted and give it more of a crisp there. You could do that with the arm as well if you wanted. I'm going to leave it alone just like this, kind of like what we had at its beginning as I showed you. And you can see it still looks kind of blocky, so I hit Tab to go into object mode. So now I can't edit the object itself, but now I can move it, and you can see if I right click, there's this thing called Shade Smooth. This actually changes the way the viewport and the renderer sees our object. So just hit Shade Smooth and you'll see it's now smooth, although around the edges you can still see where the vertices are. And we can fix that as well. Go over to the Subdivision Surface Modifier over here in the Modifier tab, and click to increase the subdivision amount. If you want it really smooth, you can go up to 3. You do not want to go very high with this number though, as it can really slow down your computer. Try and keep this as low as you can with it still giving good results. If you, as you look around and you pan around an orbit, you can see that maybe we don't want our arms to be ovals but more spherical. We can go back into edit mode using Tab and hit Control R and put the loop cuts there to make it more crisp like that, if we like it more like that. If not, you can just undo it and leave it just the way it was. So that's all for this video, but in the next one we're going to go a little bit more over some of the basic materials and how we can apply some of them, as well as a little bit of lighting and moving the camera around. So stay posted, and I'll see you in a second.